Hi everybody, thank you very much. I always appreciate you watching. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to another classic movie review. I am talking about another black and white horror film from the 30s. This one came out in 1939. This one was the third in the original Frankenstein series from Universal Pictures, talking about Son of Frankenstein. This was directed by Rowland V. Stars Basil Rathbone as Baron Wolf Von Frankenstein, who's supposed to be the son of the original Dr. Frankenstein from the first two films. We also have the great Boris Karloff returning as the monster once again. And here we also have the great Bela Lugosi joining them as Igor in a standout performance. We also have Lionel Atwill as Inspector Crow, as Elsa, the wife of Dr. Baron Wolf von Frankenstein, Josephine Hutchinson, I believe, and playing young Peter, their son, is young Donnie Dunnigan. The director of the first two movies, James Whale, did an outstanding job in crafting those first two Frankenstein films. From a filmmaking standpoint, from a story-making standpoint, on a technical level, those films are superior. However, if there's one thing that Son of Frankenstein has over Frankenstein and The Bride of Frankenstein, it's definitely the performances and the acting. Basil Rathbone is an amazing actor. Basil Rathbone was an Academy level actor with great range. Just a couple years before this, he was nominated for a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for Romeo and Juliet. And the same year that this came out, he was nominated once again for a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for If I Were King. And he's also supported here by another great actor in Lionel Atwill as Inspector Crow. And this character has kind of a tragic backstory. When it comes to these old black and white Universal Pictures monster movies, actor Lionel Atwill was kind of a chameleon because he was such a good actor that they would have him play different parts in several of these movies. Sometimes smaller parts, sometimes bigger supporting parts. Here, it's a very distinguishable kind of character. He has a specific look and outfit and mechanical arm. Some of my favorite scenes in the film are the scenes with Basil Rathbone's character Wolf sharing the screen with Lionel Atwill's character Inspector Crow. And that's mainly because of the nature of the story, which is the very beginning of the film. You have the villagers arguing about Dr. Frankenstein Jr. basically coming with his family to move into his father's old house because of inheritance, basically. And so they just suspect that he's going to be up to his father's old tricks, like in the first two films, and they're afraid that he's going to stir things up all over again and bring up a new monster or recreate the same monster. So Inspector Crow is very much willing to give the new Dr. Frankenstein and his family the benefit of the doubt for the time being. And after we see that scene, the opening moment with the townspeople and their concerns, we see a scene with Dr. Frankenstein and his family on the train on their way to their new home. They're very excited, at least he is, about his inheritance and what he'll find out about his late father. And so he's coming at the whole thing like it's an adventure. And you can tell his wife is not as enthusiastic, but she's trying to keep an open mind for him. So Wolf and his family get to their destination. They get off the train, they head to the platform, and there are a bunch of townspeople gathered around that are there to meet them but not greet them. That's the line from the movie. They're very standoffish, kind of rude, and basically giving off that vibe that this family isn't all that welcome. Not very long after the family moves into this very big, gothic, creepy looking old house, some strange occurrences begin to take place there. Unbeknownst to the family, lurking, dwelling deep beneath the house, in the same house with the family, is the character of Igor, played by the great Bela Lugosi, who was very famous for playing the role of Dracula, and here he steals a good part of the movie as this character. It is a genuinely creepy performance, and Bela Lugosi is awesome as Igor. It's a pretty cool little backstory for the character too. He is a criminal that was hung, and so they broke his neck, but he didn't die. And after he didn't die, they basically can't try him for the same crime. Whenever Boris Karloff appears as the Frankenstein monster in full monster makeup, once again done by the legendary Jack Pierce, who worked on the first two Frankenstein films as well as many other Universal monster movies, he's still very intimidating, very imposing as a presence whenever he's around others. Usually the monster towers over other people in the scene, but because they don't give the Frankenstein monster enough to do in this one as opposed to the first two films, it very much feels like Boris Karloff was kind of going through the motions in this one. Karloff is still very suitable and serviceable in the role this third time around, but his performance isn't as memorable here as much as it was in the first two outings. Things in the story take a pretty interesting turn when Dr. Baron Wolf von Frankenstein finally realizes that he and his family aren't alone in the house, and he discovers that the monster is dwelling in the house below. And he also has a couple of people working for him, like a butler and a maid. And when the butler goes missing, he pretty much has a clear idea of what happened to him. And, things like that happen to where it's very mysterious what's going on, and nobody knows what's happening. People are coming up missing and stuff. And so that's when Inspector Crow comes around. There's a great scene where Inspector Crow comes to the house, and Baron Wolf von Frankenstein knows that the monster is somewhere in the house, and the inspector is very suspicious of Wolf, and so he's in the house, and Wolf is acting, kind of funny because he's on pins and needles, and they're playing a game of darts. It has kind of a tension all throughout the scene. This movie has a lot of things going for it. I already mentioned the exceptional performances from Basil Rathbone and Lionel Atwill and Bela Lugosi, but I also got to say the dialogue, the writing, the music, the lighting, the cinematography, the production design, the directing, all that stuff is firing on all cylinders here. And this movie just has the misfortune of being the third film in a series where the first two were two of the greatest films of all time. And so, of course, this, third movie isn't going to measure up, but in a way, it kind of does. It's just as entertaining. It's, very competently made. But again, the acting here by, Basil Rathbone and Lionel Atwill, that is the thing that really makes this one stand apart. Son of Frankenstein from 1939. I give this movie 3 stars. If you're into the classics, if you're into monster movies, check it out. You can probably find it on Peacock. They have all the classic Universal monster movies on there. If you want to get yourself a hard copy, there might be some floating around. I have a collection. It's called the Legacy Collection. A lot of the Frankenstein movies here on DVD. Basically, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein, House of Frankenstein, and House of Dracula, because Frankenstein monster appears in that as well as Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I do plan on going through all these movies in this collection, and yeah, it's a pretty cool thing to have if you're a fan of these movies, and if you don't have Peacock. But yeah, there you have it. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I always appreciate it. If you're into this kind of thing, if you're into the classics, hit the bell, become a subscriber, and don't forget to please comment, share, like, always helps me out. And please don't forget to look out for the next classic movie review. If you're a returning supporter of the channel, thank you very much. I always appreciate you spending a little time. And please look out for the next classic movie review. Everybody take care of each other. Peace out. God bless.